Thank you, Patrick. It's my honor to be one of the 11 activists in this room. I am Kanae Doi. I have been a human rights activist, a human rights lawyer for the past 15 years. So I would like to share my experience with you, what it is like to be a human rights activist in Japan. When I tell people that I am a lawyer, people admire me that I am a lawyer, because in Japan, law exam to be a lawyer is very, very difficult. But when I tell people that I am a human rights lawyer, people's reaction gets very different. That is because the image of a human rights activist in Japan is actually like this. This is the typical image. So people think of me as a person who is really arrogant, who think about my own rights only, not about obligations. Obligations very important here. Or I am very radical, and my activities are always watched by police. That is the typical misunderstanding or the misconception of human rights activists in Japan. So if you are a female human rights activist, the image becomes something like this. You have helmets, you have masks, and so it's far from being a feminine, feminist human rights activist. And then people often think that they're human rights activists are very scary people. But what is the human rights, first of all? Human rights is about prohibition of torture. Or human rights is about the prohibition of arbitrary detention, or forced disappearance, or about the killing of civilians under armed conflicts. So obviously, they are very, very important values. And of course, human rights is about the prohibition of discrimination on sex, race, or sexuality. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't learn what human rights are when I was in primary school, high school, junior high school, and then it was only when I was a college student when I learned about human rights. I was a law faculty student. I took constitution class, and there, professors told me what human rights are, and then I was suddenly enlightened. I fall in love with human rights. And then I was very quick to act. I thought I need to see the victims of human rights abuses. And then as a college student, I thought probably I should go to Africa, where it seems like there are lots of human rights abuses, a lot of people suffering. And then this is a country where I chose, Eritrea, one of the smallest countries in Africa. Eritrea got independence in 1993 from Ethiopia after 30 years of very bloody struggle. I went to Eritrea only after 3-4 years after the independence. So everything was under reconstruction, including laws. So the government of Eritrea asked me to help them write laws, including criminal law. And then at the time, they were writing their own constitution. So it was a very exciting time for me. And then, of course, exciting time for young people in Eritrea. This is me in Eritrea, Asmara. Asmara is the capital city of Eritrea. And then I have a lot of good friends at Asmara University, which was at the time the only university in Eritrea. So these are the law students. I gave one seminar at the Asmara University. So they were full of hope that after 30 years of struggle, now it is the time for them to rebuild their country. Someone told me that he will introduce a new tax system into Eritrea. Someone told me that he's going to lay foundations for the freedom of expression in Eritrea. So everybody was really, really hopeful. But only after 3 years I left Eritrea. Eritrea turned into dictatorship in 2001. Now Eritrea is ranked at the bottom of the 2009 Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders. This means that they are ranked at the bottom of the some 170 countries. It is under North Korea. So imagine about the country where there is less freedom of expression than North Korea. So this gave me a very important lesson that to protect the rights of people, to protect rights, human rights, you shouldn't help the government. You should help the people. And then also, sometimes to protect the rights of people, I have to confront with the government. So that was a very important lesson. So I came back to Japan and then started to help refugees or asylum seekers who are persecuted by the government of their origin, the country of their origin. So from here, the message becomes very important to the Japanese people, particularly Japanese policymakers. So let me switch my language into Japanese, and then I know that the interpreters will interpret my Japanese into English, English. And so I came to work. 難民を助ける仕事を始めました。で、まず簡単に世界中にどれだけ難民がいるか。
And to see how many people, how many refugees are around globally right now. At the end of 2008, there were 15.2 million refugees. However, those called asylum seekers, there were 827,000. And those considered IDPs, those who are not even refugees, those who cannot even leave their countries, there are 26 million of those people. And therefore, in total, there are 42 million. 42 million people who are currently considered refugees. And in Japan, we are the second or third economy in the world. And so there must be some people who are seeking to move to Japan. And when I came back from Eritrea in 1998, of the 42 million, I realized that the amount that the government were helping in 1998, the number of people that refugees that Japanese people were helping was only one person. When I came back from Eritrea, Eritrea and Ethiopia were in war, and there were a lot of refugees during that time. And I asked the Ministry of Law to help these people in Japan. However, there was only one person that would be approved to be a refugee in Japan. And from that time, I decided that Japan domestically, internally, should help refugees, and began a campaign towards that effort. And it has been 10 years since then, and it has been 30 times the amount. And now there are 30 people. And I think there's plenty more to do, and I'm sure you understand that as well. And therefore, this slide shows Hazaran asylum seekers. They're the asylums in Afghanistan, and I was a lawyer for them. And we collected a lot of people, or we gathered a lot of people who were seeking to become asylum seekers in Japan. In Shinagawa, there is a lot of people applying to become immigrants, and there are a lot of people who are being caught, and I have conversed with them before. And the result of the campaign and the refugee law has become a little bit better, and there is now a resettlement law that began this year. And this is an attempt to bring refugees from camps into Japan. Currently, there are 88,000 refugees in part of the resettlement program being resettled into developed countries. For example, approximately 60,000 people resettled into the United States, around 2,000 people resettle into Sweden, and this is also something that will begin in Japan. And there are only 30 people who will be moved to Japan. And the number is still a little bit small. There are 42 million refugees, and therefore those that are the 88,000 people being resettled are very lucky, and only 30 will be coming to Japan, and therefore is a small step, but a big step for the country of Japan. And therefore from now on, we hope that we will be able to work towards increasing the number of refugees into the country. From about 4 years ago, I began the Human Rights Watch, and therefore I thought that it was important to address the issue of why refugees were coming about. This is a group that began about 30 years ago, and I opened the Tokyo office last year. And how do we go about getting rid of human rights abuses? One way is to investigate what is going on and to find out the truth, and to get involved in ways to stop human rights abuses. And therefore, we have begun to help people of 90 countries. Why would the president of Eritrea really care about the human rights activists? One way is to tell the truth and to make the truth be known, and to make them feel shameful, and to make everyone in the world put pressure on them. And through this way, by making this happen, the Japanese government is extremely important. As everyone is well aware, Japan is a very rich government, and they are donating money to many different countries. They offer financial aid to various countries. The Japanese government, if they can voice their opinion regarding the human rights efforts, not just to give money, but just to state that arbitrary detention is bad, or that political killings are bad, and to stop doing that. And if they can voice their opinions in this way and provide support in this way, I believe that the world will change. And therefore my current hope is that Japan will help to create smiles like this and to contribute to the world in this way, and for people to recognize Japan as a country that does that. And that is my dream as a human rights activist. Thank you very much.